Way high, and up she rises. Row, boys, row, boys, row. Way high, and the blocks is different sizes. Way high, Sally Brown.
Today we're going to be looking at a match from the 2018 Atlanta Winter Open. This is a match of my friend and instructor, Carlos Mendez. He is the owner and instructor at One Academy in Athens, Ohio. I wasn't able to find his opponent's name, but I believe his first name is Chris. This was a middleweight brown belt Masters 1 match, and we can see after the slap and bump, there'll be a bit of a race to get the guard pull off of the contact. We can see contacts made, and Carlos is able to get into the guard pull first. His opponent is going to be looking to do a leg weave pass, also called a mad dog pass, and he is bringing his arm over the top leg of Carlos, and then through the space in between Carlos's leg and making a grip on the inside bottom knee of Carlos. He's going to try and use that to push away, frame away Carlos's legs as he pulls in at Carlos's collar or potentially his sleeve, and he brings his hips around the corner for the pass and side control. But to do that, he's first going to have to extract the leg that's stuck in Carlos's half guard at the moment. You can see Carlos is using a back of the collar grip here to keep his posture low. So his opponent starts to tripod up here to start working the pass. One of his options here for this pass would be to essentially, from this tripod, knee cut across the bottom leg of Carlos as he pushes the legs toward that side, brings his hips around the corner for that pass and side control. But Carlos, recognizing the pass attempt there, is able to pull him back down, square back up, and having that squared posture makes it difficult to work that pass. So his opponent here needs Carlos to be on his side so that he can maintain good control of both legs using that single grip on the bottom leg. As long as Carlos is squared up here, it's difficult for him to work that particular style of passing. On Carlos's part, he'd probably like to get his leg free to get into a closed guard at this point, but because that grip is on his far leg, it makes it difficult for him to extract it and bring it across the back to get into closed guard. So we're going to see him fall back into half guard game again here. And for a moment there, he's got the crossed, the X half guard, controlling the calf of his opponent. You can see that control here, where the outside leg of the half guard comes straight down to the mat on the inside of his opponent's legs. Then his inside hook of the half guard comes across, sort of forms an X, and allows him to point these toes towards the mat and control where his opponent's able to move his foot there for passing the half guard. It helps to control knee cut passing attempts in particular. Carlos reaching over the back to control posture here. His opponent had momentarily given up on that grip for the mad dog or leg weave pass, but replaces that grip to go back into that passing style. Carlos, again, recognizing what his opponent's looking to do here, does a good job of keeping squared up, avoids, and there's a good attempt there for a second of a chaining. So because Carlos is trying to square back up, he doesn't want to be in this position where he's along his side and on his hip there. That's going to allow his opponent to control both legs at once off of that one leg weave grip. So Carlos is generally trying to square back up, which puts tension on this grip that's on his bottom leg. That grip's running a little higher than his opponent would probably like. Usually he would be gripping closer to the knee, but he's getting a little closer, a little further up the hip there. But as Carlos is squaring up here, his opponent's going to try and chain off of that to attack an X pass, and we can see that there. So as Carlos squares back up and avoids that mad dog pass that his opponent's attacking, his opponent backsteps hard, brings that leg up, not so much a backstep, but brings the leg up as he uses that grip to push the legs across his body, and then he wants to return this leg to the side of Carlos. He wants to bring that toward the hip area, plant that foot around the hip area of Carlos, and bring his body around the side for the pass. Often you'll see people who work that pass moving into knee on belly, but Carlos does a good job. Let's see how he avoids that, of bringing that knee back across the body to reestablish a guard. And again, he'd probably in this position prefer to get into a closed guard, but that grip that his opponent's making, in this case, it would be coming over top Carlos's leg, is going to make it hard for him to close his guard up here. And Carlos now reaches over the shoulder and makes a grip on the back of the belt. It's a useful grip for not only controlling posture by bringing down the shoulders, it also allows him an anchor point to move himself relative to his opponent. So we're going to see it'll allow him to set up here close to his opponent. And it's also good for attacking things like the armbar or the triangle. Again, it's helping to keep his opponent's posture low here. He was able to free his leg now and get into a closed guard game. And we're going to see as his opponent stands up there, he throws in the underhook on his leg and starts to cut an angle. So that underhook not only attaches him to his opponent, so it's more difficult for his opponent to lift him up, but it also allows him to bring his head towards that foot of his opponent to cut an angle to start attacking arm bars and triangles. You can see there that he cuts that angle a little bit, starts to get into very high guard here where his opponent's shoulder is actually sort of outside of the closed guard configuration of Carlos's legs. That gives Carlos very, very good exposure on the arms, allows him to attack, but because his opponent was able to lift him, he has gravity working against him, so he has to bail in that position. He comes down, puts hooks on the inside to control the inside space, and is using a cross collar grip here to help keep his opponent's posture down. Started to look for pocket grip on the ankle there for a second, and you can see again his opponent is working that same grip for that leg weave or mad dog pass, and his arm is coming underneath, making a grip on the bottom leg there. At this point, he doesn't have either of his legs stuck, so this would be a good opportunity for him to attack that pass. Carlos, on his part's playing a sort of Wardzinski style, what they call lazy butterfly guard. He's laying back, and he's got this leg coming up, acting as both a potential butterfly hook that he could use to elevate or destabilize his opponent, but also as a sort of knee shield to help enforce distance here. His bottom leg is sort of being pinned a little bit here by his opponent's knee, but he's still got some options there for potential hook sweeps and some different options. Now his opponent again starts to attack that pass, this time moving toward the backside. So rather than bringing his hips this way toward the front side of Carlos, this time he brings them towards Carlos's backside. And now he's trying to use that leg weave grip to push Carlos's legs in the opposite direction. So he wants to clear the legs by pushing them toward Carlos's front side as he brings his hips towards Carlos's backside. The thing that's going to stop this attempt, though, in part is the cross collar grip that Carlos has maintained here. That allows him to establish a frame across the face of his opponent that's going to make it difficult for him to bring his head close to Carlos to solidify this pass. We're also going to see that Carlos raises his elbow of that arm that has the cross collar grip, and that's going to allow him to really apply pressure against the neck and face of his opponent to reestablish distance and get back into guard and avoid the pass. So you can see there he's raising that elbow. His opponent looks into the grip there. It's an uncomfortable position for him to be in, and it allows Carlos to start reestablishing some guard control here. So he's put in an instep hook across the the same side leg, and he's still, because of the configuration of this leg weave, it does still allow him to use his knee here and his leg coming underneath to enforce some distance as well, which is just one of the downsides to that particular style of passing. And Carlos squares back up here. His opponent bails on his leg weave grip. Carlos still with his cross collar. Now he bails on the cross collar and starts working a 2-on-1 here. So probably he would like to bring this arm across his body. And from that position, he has a potential back attack, as well as some armbar entries that he could attack from there. So he's working that 2-on-1. Probably wants to bring that across. And changes his grip configuration for the 2-on-1 here. Switches which hand is controlling at the elbow and which at the wrist. Again, wants to pull that across or pin it to his chest so that he can start to move into armbar attacks or pull it all the way across for an arm drag to attack the back. Looks to attack the forearm for a second there, looks for some posture control. His opponent stands up, so he again goes back to the 2-on-1 control to keep some connection to his opponent. Opponent turns back to, at this point, a sort of combat base, but returns back to passing from the ground. Carlos puts in an instep hook there for a second, pulls his opponent in, and we'll use that to enter into some better control positions. So at this point, he has a sort of reverse De La Hiva half guard game working here with a low knee shield. So it's a sort of Z guard position. We're going to see him using that low knee shield coming across the waist to enforce distance, and then he can use the bottom leg that's acting as a half guard hook. He can use that to keep his opponent from backing away or extracting that leg to attack passes. And his opponent's got knee grip there. He wants to probably pull that leg up, that bottom leg, to clear the guard. Now his knee shield has extracted, and he starts to put it in here again as a butterfly hook. So he's inserting that instep hook back under the thigh there, so that he can start playing a butterfly game. He sets up to do a little bit of grip fighting. As he comes back down, there's a moment there where his instep hook disconnects. So while he did have it under the thigh of his opponent as a sticky butterfly hook, as he was pushed back to the mat and fell back to the mat, his opponent takes advantage of that disconnect between the instep and thigh and pummels underneath to move into a over-under pass. So you can see here he's attacking a Bernardo Faria style over-under pass, and he's got good control of the hips at this point. He's keeping the hips framed away. He's got his head all the way coming out the side, so he wants to keep his head in that position to largely avoid the triangle threat. But you can see he still has to clear Carlos's bottom leg. So in order to finalize this pass, he needs to push this leg across. So once he can get this leg across his body, then he'll be able to settle into side control and finish the pass. And we're going to see him attempt to clear that leg now. So as he steps out to clear that leg, Carlos recognizes that it's a over-under pass attempt and is immediately extracting that knee back. So rather than allowing that leg to be pushed across his body, that would finalize the pass for his opponent, he brings it back toward himself and toward the mat, and he's going to look to keep his knee on the far side of his opponent's hips, and that's going to allow him to reestablish guard. So you can see there as his opponent tries to bring that leg back down. So his opponent lifts the leg. And then to finish the pass, because it's difficult to backstep from this position while controlling the hips here, he needs to bring this foot back to the mat. As he does that and squares his hips back up, Carlos is putting his shin and knee across his opponent's waist. That allows him to enforce distance, prevent the pass, and now his opponent, realizing that he's missed extracting the leg, missed that over-under pass attempt, squares back up. That allows Carlos to move into a triangle attack. So rather than his opponent's head being across his body, where it's relatively safe from the triangle attack, it's now squared back up. And you can see that Carlos, because of that over-under pass attempt, his leg is over the shoulder of his opponent. Now he just needs to extract his leg that's going across the waist and bring it up and over top of his ankle to get into the triangle setup. And you can see very quickly does that. As soon as he's able to extract that foot, it comes up and over top of his ankle, and he crosses at the ankles initially. Does a classic posture control from the triangle setup where he grips at his own ankle, uses that to keep his opponent's head pulled down so that he can't posture away to break out of the triangle control before Carlos is able to get it fully set. And Carlos is also going to use that to sort of pull his shin downward so that he can stomp over top of it with his right leg to lock up this triangle. And we'll see that happen. So he's controlling the posture and also moving that ankle down into the pocket of his knee. You can also see a good detail here where Carlos is flexing his toes, pointing them across the knee of his opponent. That allows him to get an even better lock on the triangle. And it also will tighten up all the muscles in his calf to make them more effective at applying the choke as he moves into the choking pressure here, which we can see him doing now. So he starts to pull down at the head, pulling down at the head along with the knee. Goes for a second there to pull both knees together as he pulls at the head, but then switches back to attacking the arm and going down at the head. And he's just cinching up the triangle here. So his opponent is currently doing a good job of avoiding tapping, but is on limited time. So if he isn't able to extract himself out of this triangle, it's just really a matter of time before he gets choked. You can see though that they're very close to the edge of the active area of the mat. So there's a risk here that if his opponent were to step into the yellow here, that Carlos could be reset. So if that happened while the submission was locked up, Carlos would get 2 points for going out of bounds with a submission locked. His opponent could potentially be penalized for fleeing the mat while in a submission. But we're going to see that his opponent starts to run out of time and Carlos gets the tap. Rewind, see that sequence play out again. And here Carlos is working that butterfly hook. He sets up, and it's going to be as he's driven back to the mat and falls back that there's that momentary disconnect. His opponent pummels under, starts moving into the Barria style over-under pass, tries to clear the leg but misses the knee. And that allows Carlos to move directly into a triangle attack. Carlos is a very good triangle player. It's one of his preferred submissions, and we can see that by the comfort level that he has once he gets into the position. He's just going to slowly and methodically apply pressure, continue ratcheting it a little bit tighter and tighter with each adjustment, pulling in at the head, pulling at the same time his knee into the carotid even more. His opponent tries to stand up to maybe win some posture, to apply some pressure on the lock of the triangle, but isn't able to win back enough posture to break out of the position. His head remains low. Carlos is able to continue applying pressure and gets the tap. So that's all I have for today. Later in the week, I'll likely be throwing up a shorter video that's a look at another one of Carlos's matches from this same event that's significantly shorter than this one was. If there are any other players, sequences, or matches you'd like to see me talk about, please let me know in the comments, and steal what works.